What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Unlocking Excellence. What up? I'm your main man, Eric Schwafel, and here at Unlocking Excellence, what we do is we provide you with the keys to a better future and a more promising present, right? And today I have a very special guest, Miss Ella Abney, one of my longtime clients. I'm so happy that you're here today. What up, Ella? How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm doing pretty great. It's great to see you. I love seeing you. I love the energy that you bring in, that you have, and I'm very excited about today. Um, so, y'all, Ella, before we get started and we get talking, is kind of a unique case, and I say that just because of her age, right? She has been in this personal development, self improvement type world for quite a little while, right? To give a little history on us, and then I'm going to let her pretty much just go and tell us about this whole journey, experience, and adventure. We started training together before we were training together before I was on my own. My previous job, we worked together for a couple of years, but we didn't do like personal training. We were in similar classes. We talked. We were able to connect and converse. I left. I started doing my own thing for a little bit, and then we met up for online training. And there were certain goals that you wanted to take place, certain goals and things that you wanted to do. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. And then from there, we went into the mindset NLP coaching and her growth and change and insights and all that kind of good stuff from there. So, you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, sweet. So, is there anything? Well, first is going to be the fitness stuff that we talked about, right? Real brief. We decided to work together online. You had some certain specific goals in mind. So, speaking up to that point and at that point, what had your journey been with fitness? What was your relationship like with your body, with your health, and what is it that you wanted to accomplish working together?
So up until that point, I've danced my whole life,
Yeah.
and was in I was a ballet dancer, and I had really old school and strict instructors
Mm,
that really pressed being as thin as possible. And I was always told that I was overweight and that I needed to lose weight and all this stuff, like from an extremely young age.
I remember that.
And when I started doing like the group training classes that you were a part of, and that you led, I think I was like 12 or 13, and I was still dancing at that point, and I was swimming competitively year round at that point, and I was just doing everything I could to get as skinny as possible.
Yeah.
Um, because I thought I was overweight because I was told I was overweight by all my instructors. And so I would get up at 4:30 in the morning and go to a 5 a.m. class, and then go home and shower and go to school and get on the bus for 6:30, and then
Mm.
I would come home and go to swim practice, and then immediately after that I'd shower and go to dance until 9, 10 o'clock at night, and then I'd come home and do homework until midnight, and then I'd go to sleep for 4.5 hours, and that was like maybe like 3 years of my life. And I was trying to be as fit as possible, but in probably the most unhealthy way, because my mindset wasn't healthy with it. And then I still was told I was overweight, all these things, right? But I was just really muscular, and that is not what ballet dancers want. They don't want muscle, right?
Right.
And so then when I was, I guess, 14, I had bilateral hip surgery, and it put me out of any physical activity for like a year and a half. And
Yes.
so I gained a bunch of the weight that I had kept off, because I had the same eating habits as I did, because I was a machine before, so I had to eat to fuel myself. And I
Right.
had the same eating habits, but it was not just like the same eating habits, but I was also alone and depressed, and I had no friends because all my friends were in my dance classes, and so it was just really bad relationship with food, right? And then my body image just went down the drain, right? And then I finally could go back to dance, and I was I looked a lot different than I wanted to, and that they wanted me to.
Right.
And so then like the comments just became more passive because I was older, so they couldn't be as, forward with it. And it was just really hard because everyone else looked the same, but I could visibly see that I looked different. And it was just really bad. And I probably until like from my freshman year until the beginning of my senior year when I started NLP, I did all of it like in my own strength to try and get back to where I was, but I could just never do it. I could never get back to where I was or where I wanted to be in any healthy way, like either I thought I like couldn't eat as many calories, so I'd eat like 500 calories a day, which is awful, right? And but I'd be working out. And so it was just all the wrong ways to approach it.
Yes.
And I was approaching to heal like my physical body, but not my mental,
Right.
Then my mom told me about that she was doing like the online training with you, and I was away at school, and so I was like, okay, this will be great. Like I had a really free and like uh I wasn't like constricted by time my senior year, so I could do, I had time to cook for myself, and I had time to make sure that I was fueling my body the way that it needed to be fueled, and I could go to the gym when I needed to, or I could I could make like myself intentional, like I could be intentional with myself, which was different than for myself and not for my dance instructors, or not for, honestly, like in high school, like earlier years of high school, not for guys and things like that, not to fit in.
Yeah.
Um and so yeah, I was like just really excited because I was so tired of years and years and years of trying to do it and nothing happening, and my body image just going down the drain even more and more and more because I was doing it all by myself, and I didn't I didn't research before, so so I didn't have any knowledge of what was healthy. And so yeah, I was just really excited to get into it and know that I would get results because I wasn't doing it on my own and relying on my own knowledge of it, but that you knew what you were doing, and you knew like and you were gracious to be like, hey, if this doesn't work for you, that's cool, we can try this. So yeah, I was really excited about that coming into the online fitness program that we did.
Yeah. That was, love that answer. It covered so much. And during that time too, not only were you meeting the mental game and a lot of mental obstacles with who were supposed to be your support group, but if I remember correctly, throughout those movements as well and throughout dance, there was pain because of what happened in your hip too, right? So there's, yeah, so there's not only outside coming but inside, right?
Yeah, because I honestly, since like the age of 12, um is when it all started, like 11 or 12. I was in dance one day, and that was the age where I started to get like really serious about dance. And I started going the extra mile and taking extra classes, and I decided to take like a 6 week intensive where I just danced 8 hours a day for 6 weeks. And my body wasn't used to dancing that much. And you know when like your muscles, right? You stretch them out over time, so eventually they get looser and looser and looser, right? Well, I didn't allow my body to do that, and
Mhm.
one day I just heard like I felt a really hard pop, and so there's a muscle that connects to the inside of your knee around the front of your leg and comes up and connects on the outside of your hip on like the point, and the muscle didn't pop, it just broke a corner that of the bone off. And so that really hurt. But because
Yeah.
like the dance field that I was in is really like detrimental to your physical and mental health, um like as dancers, we just knew that unless you are bleeding or like you're visibly bleeding like everywhere, or you like you see bone, that you cannot voice the pain because as dancers you just push through it. And so for years I've like had many issues with my body, but I just danced through it and I forgot about the pain because it was it wasn't acceptable to voice that pain. And so I didn't say anything to anybody, but I couldn't lift my leg off the ground at all. And as a dancer, I was expected to have my leg up here, right? And so one day in class, my instructor was yelled at me in front of everyone that I couldn't get my leg off the ground and took that leg and pushed it above my head, and I wanted to scream. And then from then on, my hips popped all the time. I It hurt to do anything. It hurt to jump. It hurt to sit. It hurt to bend my knees or extend my hips at all. And as dancers, we have to always have our hips like our feet turned out, so that like exposes the front of your hip and it hurts. And so then, over time, my labrums, which are the tissue in between the ball and socket that hold the ball and the socket in your hips, it tore, and it's like a suction cup. So when there's a hole in a suction cup, it doesn't keep it in anymore, right? It doesn't have any suction.
Right.
And my ball, instead of being a sphere, it's actually, or was, an arrowhead. And so anytime I move my hip, it just tore the labrum over and
Ooh,
over and over again.
yeah.
And I danced on that for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Both my hips being like that and the little chunk of bone being off.
Yeah.
But I couldn't voice anything, because I didn't want to get held back. I didn't want to get yelled at. So one day, my mom, like, she knew for a while, but she was like, "What's wrong?" And I'd be like, "Nothing, nothing." Finally, she's like, "Okay, we're going to the doctor." So we went to the doctor, and he was like, "How long has this been like this?" And I was like, "I don't know, a couple years." And he was like, "You cannot dance anymore. Like, you shouldn't have been dancing at all, like, with this."
Right.
So he told me that I had to have surgery, or that, like, I wouldn't be able to dance at all or walk in the next couple of years.
Wow.
And so that was really hard because I had to go tell my dance instructors, "Hey, I can't dance anymore." And they were like, "Well, why?" They were mad. And I was like, "Well, I have extreme hip issues."
Yeah.
So I took a year and a half off, and that just, was worse. And then, because of that, like, my muscles were a lot weaker. And so when I went back to dance, like, I was not at all where I wanted to be.
Right.
But I finally got back, but thankfully not. I got back to my fullest, in a different dance environment, which was much healthier, um, which was at my high school, like, my boarding school, which
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for. But yeah, I don't even remember what your question was, I'll be honest, but yeah.
You covered it perfectly. It was about
Okay,
the,
cool.
you're good. All right. So with all that pain, so there's a lot of pain that's happening. There is there's avoidance, there's putting it to the side, like if I ignore it, then it will go away. That's a better way to put it. And the support system isn't there. There's changes that are wanting to happen, but it's all through force. Now through all this work, right? If there's ease, then go that way. There's no need to force things. If you're forcing, it's not in alignment. So there's a lot of making that happen. What was it that you wanted to? How is it that you wanted to change that with the online stuff? Because now by this time we do the online fitness program. You're no longer dancing. You've been out of dance for a little while. You've gotten into the healthy eating and into the fitness relationship with yourself, getting yourself back stronger. There's ups and downs with that are happening. It's life. You're over into a new school. There are new things happening. There's a lot going on in your life, it seems, at all times, right? And how did you navigate that chaos, and what is it that you wanted to accomplish while we did our fitness program together?
I think I wanted to stop trying to appease everyone else around me and focus on myself.
Yeah.
and be a little selfish, because for so long it was about looking good for my instructors, or it was about, ignoring the the natural signals my body was giving me to stop, because I couldn't, because people were relying on me and they didn't want to, um they didn't want me to stop, because they didn't care. And so I think with this I was finally like, you know what? It's about me now. And
Mhm.
this is about me getting myself in check because I want to, and because I'm tired of not listening to my body, and not listening to what it needs, And
Yeah.
so I think I wanted to be a little selfish, but not in a vain way, but in like a, this is my body and I want to take care of it the way that I know it needs to be taken care of. Um,
Mm.
and I mean, because as you know, like you have many different clients and not the same plan works for everybody, And so being like tiny, oh, my mom's leaving, being like itty bitty doesn't work for me, Like I have big bones, and I'm muscular. And I finally like accepted that and was happy with that instead of feeling like I had to be itty bitty for everyone else and for them to approve of what I looked like,
Mm.
when God gave me the body I'm in so that I can utilize it in the way He wanted me to utilize it, right? And so I'm muscular and I'm strong, and why not use that? Why not oil that machine, because and fuel that machine, because that's what it's made for, And so I think at that point I was like, you know what? I'm going to train my body and heal it to where it can be used at the best of its abilities instead of weakening it all the time so that everyone else is okay with what I look like.
Yes, and I love that last bit. I'm going to keep weakening it so that everyone else is okay with what, however it is that you finish that. And it's true, right? Because um, at different points, you were being told what to do and what not to do with your body. This
Mhm.
causes me pain. I should not do this. I'm going to ignore it. And then it causes more pain, right? And
Yeah.
all too many times we put aside what we know to be true for ourselves and what is being shown to us because somebody else says, oh, no, don't worry about that, right? Like, how many times has maybe the listener gotten and said, oh, yeah, I'm not feeling good today. I'm feeling sick. I need some rest. And then you tell somebody, and they might say, no, you don't. You can keep going. And then you feel worse later on, right? A lot
Mhm.
of times that initial pain, that initial jarring, that initial poke should be enough to let us know, like, hey, we gotta chill out, find something different here. So I remember too during, because it's been a little while since we've done the fitness program. I remember that a lot of that was getting the relationship with your mind and your body on point. I remember you listened to a lot of podcasts during that time, and there was a lot of revelation too in food choices and what it is that you wanted exactly. So, is there anything that you want to touch on with that?
Yeah. So I think um for so long I like deprived myself of any enjoyment in what I ate because the world told me that and like, all the unhealthy fitness trends of that lasted for 2 weeks and then people debunked them and they were like, no, this is not healthy, right? I followed all those, and so I was like, okay, I can't eat this and this and this and this and this. So I was just like, it was not enjoyable to eat, And so I like I put being skinny over just enjoying myself, and not enjoying what I ate. That doesn't mean that I had to eat junk food all the time, but like I can have seasoning in my food, because it makes it a little more enjoyable,
Yes, you
Like
can.
seasoning's
Yeah.
not gonna kill me,
No.
or a little bit of like dipping sauce. It's not gonna kill me, Like it's okay to enjoy my food, but
Yeah.
it's also okay. like, and it's great that it fuels me, but I would like to enjoy it when I eat it, and not dread having to eat it, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I think like going into this, I was excited to I guess excited to have somebody who understood like where I was coming from and my goals and support that, And so I and set an example and like guide me in a way of like what a healthy balance can look like, So when I go out with my friends, to eat or whatever, like yes, sometimes I can get what I really want, which maybe not be like it might not be the best for me, but like I can enjoy it, but that doesn't mean that every single time I have to go out, I can be like, "Oh, well, this is my time to just let it all go?" And so I think I was really excited to find my healthy balance for myself,
Yeah.
um, and to not feel guilty about it, um, and to know that it's not gonna kill me to enjoy like a greasy meal every once in a while, but also to know that I also learned through that, like through what we did and learning the healthy meals that I enjoyed that I knew were fueling my body that I felt so much better when I ate cleaner. And so I didn't have that craving to always eat bad all the time because I knew I would feel like crap, you
Yeah.
know? And so the immediate satisfaction of eating bad, it may taste good, but I know in 20 minutes I'm not going to feel good,
Yeah.
And so I was able to navigate the long-term satisfaction of like feeling good in my body and enjoying my food, but knowing that food wasn't gonna TMI, send me to the toilet in a couple minutes, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so I was so excited and I did learn that, like I learned I can enjoy my food and it can fuel my body and I can also not give in to all my cravings because that's never healthy because all the time I'm like, oh, this would be really good right now, but I'm like, no, I know I would not feel good, right?
Mm.
It's really good to like find where and when I can be like, okay, you know what? I am gonna eat this because I really want it and I haven't had this in a month, And so it was like I was excited to find a healthy balance of listening to my body and not listening to like all these online Instagram, not saying this online program. I mean like, all the like Instagram influencers that are like, this is what you have to do. And it's like, okay, but you've been this big your whole life. So can you really talk?
Oh my gosh. I know we've gone through, you and I in our conversations in our sessions, we've gone through this and it's been a while since you've had these, but man, every time I do hear the learnings that you've gotten and the way that you speak about them and the growth that you've attained through this, I'm just like, oh, I'm so excited. Ella, you did so good, because like 90% of America plus is still struggling and you've
Mhm.
learned and you've grown and all that kind of stuff. It just brings so much joy. So now would you say kind of starting to get into the wrapping up of the fitness and whatnot, would you say that your relationship with yourself with food is better? Let's go just with that. I have a few more kind of points that I want to ask, but would you say that it's so much better or that it's a little better, or how would you describe your relationship with your food and yourself, like self-talk?
Yeah, I'd say it's so much better. I think, I mean, as you know, like I, like went on that month-long, um, like road trip with my family, over the
Yeah,
summer before I left for college, and I didn't prioritize fitness over that because I was,
with family.
yeah, I was prioritizing my family, and so I think like the whole like beginning 3 months of like the fitness like really set me up to understand like the importance of my priorities, and that like for me there's a time and a place and like not every circumstance that I'm living in allows me to prioritize the things that I wish I could prioritize, but that doesn't mean that they're going to go to the bottom of the priority list, but
Right.
it allowed me a safe space and like a healthy mindset to not beat myself up, if I can't make the gym, like you said, we've talked about that so much, especially in those first 3 months where I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't get a workout in, or whatever. And he was like, you were like, yeah, but you danced for how many hours today? Like, so it was like rewiring my brain to know that, like, to take all the like usual trends of what the world says and everyone else says that fitness and health has to be. And it was like, it really made it personal. Like, it was really a personal journey. It wasn't like a cookie cutter journey, because
Mhm.
it's never that. And so I think it really like helped me to not beat myself up if I did eat bad, and not beat myself up if I couldn't go to the gym because I was cramming for finals, like, or that I couldn't go to the gym for a month because I was spending time with my family, and like over that time I was like, I'm not going to the gym, but like we're hiking miles every day, and so I could like it was really healthy for me to not have to feel guilty all the time, you know, and to
Yes.
I don't know what the word is, but yeah, basically just to it really made it a personal journey for me, that like it was all about me, and it wasn't about what worked for you, and it wasn't about what works for my mom, but it was about what works for me and like what makes me feel good in my body and like what decisions I was happy with making, And there was even times where like you told me, you were um like there is a healthy balance in choosing, like in understanding like when it is a good time to like, maybe take a break, but listening to your body when you need to, but also not letting that get ahead of you to where you just always make excuses to always eat out, or always make excuses to not go to the gym. It was like learning the healthy balance of, is my body, is it really tired, or do I just not want to go to the gym,
Mm.
or is it like, am like, do I really need to eat this, or like do I just not feel like cooking a 15-minute healthier meal, And so
Mm.
it was really rewiring my brain to take out all the crap that I'd filled it with over the years of unhealthy fitness and health goals
Yes.
and like routines and stuff, to
Yes.
just, like I said, make it personal, and it wasn't about everyone else,
Mm. Yes. Good. Good. And that, man, that was good. Great job. Just great job. Because at that time too, right? Like I've noticed in my own coaching journey that it used to, for me, if a client came and said, I want to accomplish this goal, then I could become a very authoritarian. I can't pronounce it today.
Authoritarian, yeah.
There you go. Thank you. Authoritarian coach, and say like, this is what you wanted to do. Let's go. Like push. And I've learned that that approach isn't always the most effective approach, right? So if something isn't working, then why force it? Try to navigate and then provide that insight and then grow. So we changed the relationship. You changed the relationship with food. You changed it with yourself. And then what about this last little bit with the fitness, the support systems? So were you able to change your support systems during this time as well?
Um, I'll be honest, I think you and my mom and Evan were my biggest support systems through it, because Evan like was a gym rat, like he was
Yeah.
always in it, um and so I think like he was really encouraging and he was really excited for me when I was like getting into the gym, and like, and that I was excited about going to the gym and not just going because, like, oh, I just have to go, whatever. Like, but I like really enjoyed like feeling good in my muscles, after a good workout. I was like, oh, that felt good, even if I was a little sore, I was like, no, it's a good sore, so I was excited for myself, and my mom was excited because she was also like on a similar journey. And so,
Yeah.
and like we met like bi-weekly or something, you and I, and so it was, and you send like the weekly accountability. And so it was, as like my senior year, I didn't really have like friends my senior year, and so it was like you and my mom and Evan who were my biggest support system through it. And I think like, because before I always had a support system, but it was for all the wrong things, you know?
Yeah.
And so now I have I had a support system that was for all the right things, you know, and it was for, because Evan could care less if I like was you know, a beanpole, you know, he could care less. So it wasn't about him being like, yay, she's gonna get skinny, you know, but he was supportive of me taking care of myself because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And the same with my mom, you know, because I mean, all those years of me being thinking that I'm like extremely overweight, my mom's like, "No, you're beautiful. Like you're not overweight, you know?" And so finally she was like, "Okay, good." Like she sees and she's taking care of herself for her and not for everyone else, you know?
Yes.
And then like I mean, cuz you like knew like you saw me like in those years with the group training, like I was not overweight. Like I saw a picture of myself and I was like, oh my gosh, I was not fat. Like I
No.
was so tiny. And I thought I was, you know? And so it was like really great to have like you weren't just a coach that was like you know, found a website and was like, "All right, let me do this," you know, but you'd been there like maybe not on like a really personal level, but you'd been there for all those years of like the unhealthiness that I had.
Yeah.
And so it was like it was really good that like I you could take the what you learned from the group training, but you also like learned all your own stuff in those years and like applied it to the personal training that we do, and that really like helped me to because it was almost like I knew that it wasn't just something that you read online, but it was like your own personal journey that you were like, hey, this worked for me, and I know the similar things will work for other people. And so I was really excited that it was a healthier support system for healthier goals, you know, not just like supporting my unhealthy goals for myself, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that kind of leads to that will lead us to the NLP stuff too, because with NLP and with this deeper mindset coaching and identity coaching too, it leads into what's congruent, what's not congruent, what's aligned, what's not aligned, and some of the goals that you have in place, right? So if you have this goal, but it's an unhealthy goal and it's not meant and it's not going to get you better, then as a coach at that point and at this point in my journey, it's like I can't move forward with you with that goal if it's going to harm you in the end, right? And it seemed like, well, you did. You were moving from the things that harmed you and from the people that continued to harm you for their goals, right? And what you thought
Yeah.
was your goal, keeping up with the Johnsons, and then realizing, like, wait a second, I hit my brick wall, I hit my rock bottom, depending on what angle. This isn't what I want to do anymore. So let me catapult myself off, like you said, be selfish and start kind of providing for myself now. You know what I mean? Like giving myself the opportunity and the ground to grow without weeds and to not have rocks and rubble along the place where my roots are going to expand.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Awesome. Anything else you want to hit on with fitness and with that part of the journey before we move on to the mindset stuff?
Mm-mm.
All right, sweet. So we go through the fitness. It's about 3.5 months, right in that place. And then I come up to you and I say, Ella, I just dove into this stuff. It's NLP, it's neuro linguistic programming, it's stuff with the mind. I really think it would be beneficial. We got the body. What do you think of this? Is this something that you want to do? Because you were one of my testing my testing clients with this, right? Like I wanted to do kind of like a beta phase. We were already working here. Let's turn it up a notch. So during that time, I was a little hesitant because I was like, I've never done this before. You want to do it with me? And so, did you have any trepidations, any hesitations, any like, what were your thoughts around this, if you can recall, and moving forward into it? What were you thinking, feeling?
I mean, I think at that point I was like in a like mindset where I was just like healing all the things, you know? So I was like, you know, I was really growing intimate in my relationship with God, and I was like, "Hey, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. Why not do this?" You know? And I was like, "Sure, whatever." And you seemed really excited about it, And like when you had like like overviewed it with me, and I was like, yeah, of course, like let's do it, because I mean, why not,
Yeah.
And I mean, I trusted like the Holy Spirit within me enough to like if if it wasn't a good idea, he would have been like, don't do this, but I felt really good about it.
Yeah.
And like I know you love Jesus, and so I was like, shoot, okay, let's do this. I don't think there's going to be any harm in it, and there wasn't any harm in it. And
Right.
so, and as you know, I mean, majority of our calls went way longer because we talked about Jesus a lot. A
Yeah.
lot. And we'd always have to be like, okay, let's get back on page.
It happens, he's a pretty great guy. So, okay, so awesome. You were excited. We were rolling into it. We hit body, we hit mind, spirits aligned. What were you struggling with before this? Or was it more like, I'm on a roll, I want to keep going? Was there anything particular that was like, all right, this is what I want to change up?
I think a little bit of both. I think I was on a roll, so I was just like, all right, let's knock out all the things that aren't like supposed to be in me.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think that there was uh like some past like pain and hurt and like scarring from um like years past of just really unhealthy mindsets
Yeah.
in all areas. And so like when you had went over like the overview of what the program was going to look like, and I know you said like we talked a lot about like the subconscious mind and stuff. I think subconsciously like my spirit was really excited about
Mm.
um like about getting those things out, and like and having good channels for pinpointing like certain things, because we did shoot, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like at the end of it where we like went above my timeline and all these things, like so it
Timeline
was
therapy.
really, yeah, it was really helpful to like really visualize and like pinpoint things that were still hurting me, or that like I held on to that I didn't realize. And so I think like I knew that before, like going in, I was like, this is much more than just like a fitness journey, it's like a healing of the mind, body, and the spirit.
Hmm.
And so I think I was really excited to, because I had no idea what to expect of like what was going to come out,
Yeah.
but I think I was excited and expectant of that. I knew like something was going to happen that was good and was beneficial. So I was really excited and was like, I had the momentum of all the other things. And so I was like, let's do this, because why not? Like, why not just be my healthiest, best self right now?
I do. Yes, and you're right. We went from that personal into a few different modalities, right, to change things up. So um, we'll get into the timeline therapy. We'll get into how those changes took place. So with NLP, it expanded, right? It wasn't just body. You said it was mind and spirit as well. We go into different areas of life there where you wanted results, you didn't know what to expect in some areas too. So let's talk about what you did experience during that time, right? And then we'll talk about maybe a little the timeline therapy and how that was experienced. So there are different areas we try to focus in. What did you notice? And we'll go each one really. Since we've been talking about body, what did you notice with the relationship with your body and yourself during this NLP journey? Because where it may be similar to fitness, I know that there was also differences that occurred as well.
I think when you had me sit down and like make goals for what I wanted to look like and like be really specific about what I wanted to look like, and like what I wanted to feel in my body and what I wanted my relationship with my body to look like, it really like made me think of like, okay, am I pursuing the same unhealthy goals just with a healthier um like mindset and a health, or not a healthier mindset, but like a healthier I don't know what the word is. like avenue, you know, like a healthier way of going about unhealthy goals?
Yeah.
Or am I like really, do I really want like um what do I want, you know, not what do I think that would look best on me, you know? And so I think I really had to sit down and really think like, what do I want from myself, you know? Like, and so I really had to sit down and be like, okay, like I do want to lose weight. I want to get like muscular. Like I like muscle. I like my muscles, you know?
Yes.
And I really had to sit down and navigate if it was unhealthy goals that I wanted to reach, or if it was a healthier goal that I wanted to reach of myself. And I think sitting down with that, like it was, I mean, it wasn't easy, you know, because I had all these years of unhealthy body image, you know? And so I think over like setting those goals and then us like going over them like a few times, like it really kept me in check of like, is my body image like still really negative, or um like is it healing, you know? And I think it was also helpful because I, through this, like in setting these goals for what I wanted to look like, it kind of shifted from what do I want to look like, and it shifted to, okay, God bless me with this vessel.
Mm,
Am I going to steward it
mm,
in a good way, or am I going to treat it like crap, you know? And so
mm,
that really like hit me because I was like, I do not like, I'm blessed to be able to walk. I'm blessed to be able to go to the gym and do these things. Like, am I going to waste that blessing, or am I going to steward the vessel that he's blessed me with, you know? And so I think it was less of, okay, I want to look a certain way, and more of, I want to treat my body and his creation the best that I can, you know, and respect myself and honor myself because I'm a daughter of the king, you know? And so it was like a side effect of all of me taking care of what he's given me. Like it wasn't about looking good for me anymore, but I noticed that I had the body I always, like I was getting the body that I had always wanted, and I was like, and it was just really like healing and healthy for me to that my priorities shifted and my goals shifted, and so it wasn't about me anymore, but it was about him, you know? And so as a benefit to that, like as a benefit to taking care of myself because I'm his, you know, and not treating myself like crap, like as a benefit, I did start to like my legs were getting toned, and like I was losing weight, and like I was noticing like muscle definition, and I was like, "Oh, like," and but I wasn't focused on that, you know, because so often like when you're focused on the way you look, like it's vanity. It really is, because that's all you think about. And anytime you pass a mirror, you're like, "Oh wait, let me look at myself." And it's like that's not healthy, you know? But in times where I would notice, like it was like, "Oh dang, like this is cool. Like I'm not doing this for me, but there are benefits to it, you know?" And so I think it was really, really good for me to take the focus off of myself,
mm.
because that had been my issue the whole time, was I was always focused on myself and how I looked for others, but
Yeah.
now is like how am I performing, you know, for him, like in his kingdom and things like that, you know? Because I don't know what like where he's calling me to in the earth, you know? And so like really wanted to be prepared for anything, you know, and not have him call me into like trek like the like outermost parts of the earth, and me be in the worship of my life and be like, well, this is going to be a struggle, you know, like I can't even walk a mile, you know. And so it was really, really good for me to, like I said, take the focus off of me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And it makes all the difference, right? Because this is this is so interesting. So I'm teaching some of the principles of abundance to the gym, right? And this week I teach them one at a time. And
Yeah.
this week it's to not come from ego and to allow, the terminology they use is the superconscious mind, that which is above your mind and above the conscious subconscious. So a light, let God and let Christ navigate your thoughts and navigate your mission. Because if you come in from a limited place, which is with, the ego, then you're only going to get so far. And then when you get what you want, you're not going to want it anymore because the desire will be then gone. So when you go with something that's higher than yourself, like you're being led, and you're going to get things that you didn't even know that you wanted along the way. Right. Like,
Yeah. It's funny you say that, like the super, whatever, super sub, I don't know what you just
super
said, but
conscious.
yeah. So, a friend of mine read this book one time, and she like told me about it and showed me it. So there was like some researcher, right? And he was a Christ follower, so he wasn't like a worldly scientist, whatever, but he was he researched like psychology and like the mind or whatever, and he said in his research he discovered that like our subconscious mind is like mostly made up of like ideals and morals and habits that are imprinted at a really young age. And so I just had this revelation, like it was crazy. Like now I'm just noticing this from like our journey, like in the
Yeah.
NLP, is that like I had to navigate through my subconscious mind. You ask me all the time, like, what does your subconscious mind think? Like, my subconscious mind, I mean, you think about like how much I was submersed into an unhealthy mindset from such a young age. And so that imprinted on my subconscious mind so that now my subconscious mind is full of that unhealthy thought patterns. And so, like,
Was right. Was.
yeah, was.
Okay.
Um, and so I was just like, I just had the realization that like, oh my gosh, like all that's been like stripped out because now like my subconscious mind doesn't want all those things, but like through the beginning of our process, like it did, and it was like I didn't know it was unhealthy. I just thought like, oh, my subconscious mind wants this, like I guess it's what I want, but it was really just unhealthy mind and thought patterns that were imprinted to me at an extremely young age, which is really crazy. And I just had that thought, and yeah, I thought I'd share.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's huge. That's a huge revelation too. Um, oh, that's so good. Okay. Whew. So this is such a good conversation. I love our conversations. So the mind is changing, the body is changing. You're going something with an authority higher than yourself, right? You're noticing these things. Um, the we just hit you just hit on the unconscious subconscious mind. So there are trainings, right, that we have within the program, the juice, and on those things we touch, right? So remember the prime directives of the unconscious mind, and we start to navigate through these things, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. If there's something that's deep within and it's unconscious, right? Because we function from the conscious mind. So we've got to figure out a way to bypass that and then get into the unconscious. And that's some of the stuff that we did with timeline therapy, with general coaching, with perspective shifts, and with being able to learn about how the body functions, right? Eye patterns, accessing cues. This is how
I
we can.
still notice that all the time. When people ask me questions, I go, and I'm like, oh, dang it, I can't. Like, I always visual. I go to the right, and I every single time it happens, I'm like, oh, dang it, Eric. Like, it's like I tell you, every single time somebody asks me something and I have to think about it, I always look to my right. I'm like, dang it, like I notice it so much more now.
Yep, yep, yep. And it helps, right? Like
Yeah.
you're a visual person. So now you know what you have to do in order to communicate. Okay. So, oh, this is so good. You're getting results. There's so many results that are happening with you. There's so many realizations. There's unrooting of past programming that was put in you. I want to say it's the imprint stage, it's 0 to 7. And then there's the domestication stage, which is 7 to 14, and then the socialization stage, which is like 14 and beyond, something like that. I want to say those are the ages. I could be wrong. So these imprints and this domestication that you went through, it's not working for you anymore. You're changing it. You're uprooting it. You're getting rid of the BS that's within. It's changing your relationship with yourself. You're getting more connected with God in all sorts of different ways. What are your relationships with other people like? How are they changing? Friendships, familial, if you want to mention familial, romantic. There's a lot that happened in the romantic realm during this time.
Yeah.
So where are your relationships? What's happening in your relationships?
Hmm. I think through our like journey in those 6 months or whatever, like I really noticed a shift in priority in relationships for me. Because for so long it was like, okay, who can I be friends with? And like it's like beneficial, like, and it'll make me look good, and like people will be like, oh, she runs in that crowd.
Yes.
And they weren't good friendships. Like they weren't people that I went to when I was, in times of need. And I didn't know that those were my intentions when I pursued those relationships, but
Yeah.
then like my senior year had one friend on campus and I was completely fine with that. Like it it really shifted from quantity to quality,
Mm,
like I
yes.
don't need a million friends. Like now my inner circle is like 4 people and I'm completely fine with that, because they're amazing people.
Yeah.
And so I really became intentional with the people that I poured into and that I knew would pour into me. Um, and so it allowed me to enjoy not so like personal relationships more because I wasn't like so worried about my status, or I wasn't so worried about like what this relationship was going to give me, or what I was going to get out of it. So I could enjoy my acquaintances and I could enjoy like, sitting like at a picnic table at lunch outside my senior year, and like just like a random group that I never really hang out with, but like we see each other sometimes, like come sit with me and we have a good conversation, but I'm not like, oh, are they gonna become my best friends now? And so I think it was really, I guess I was focused on like, again, like being a little selfish, and being like, I don't need to please all these people and like make them
Mm,
happy all the time, because the school I went to like encouraged living in the world, and I'd gotten saved and like devoted my life to Christ my junior year, and so I didn't want to go back to that school, but the Lord called me there for that one friend that I had, like that's the reason. And I'm so thankful for that. And so like I wasn't like, ugh, like, oh my gosh, like, are these people gonna hate me because I love Jesus? And like all these people that like don't love Jesus and like defy him daily. Like I posted about Jesus all the time on my Instagram, and they followed me and they still sat with me. And like, just because Jesus is within me and his light shines, and whether they want to or not, they're drawn to it. They're not drawn to me, they're drawn to him within me. And so I was like, I was not worried about what people thought about me. And as the year progressed, like the Lord grew my boldness to where at the end of my senior year, like I got up in front of um a group of like an auditorium of like 100 people, and I shared my testimony and talked about Jesus, and I I wasn't ashamed anymore, and I was like, I don't care if you guys don't love Jesus because I love Jesus and he is great, and you guys are always drawn to me because he's within me. So what does that say about him? And so like I just really became, I don't think selfish is the right word because I wasn't like I didn't want to be selfish, but you know what I mean? Like I was like, it's really not about me pleasing anyone else anymore. Like I don't care about that. I please him and that's it. I obey him and that's it. So when people tried to tell me that, or like tried to argue with me, or like tell me that I was wrong or whatever, I was like, that's okay. I used to think like you too. My sophomore year, I was one of you guys and I enjoyed living in the world, and I thrived living in the world there. But I was like, you know what? It's okay that you guys don't know right now, but I know and I love him and I'm going to keep loving him regardless if you do or not. And so my relationships are amazing, and it's so much easier to not have so much like weight on myself to succeed in these relationships when like it's not in my strength that the relationships thrive. It's in his, you know? And so like my relationship with my parents, beautiful because Jesus is beautiful. My relationship with Evan, beautiful because Jesus, are you crying?
A little bit. This is awesome. This is so awesome. I told you every time I hear it. This is amazing.
My relationship with Evan, God's the center of it. So it's amazing. We make a year next month. Right?
That's so
Right?
crazy.
Crazy.
That's so crazy. So amazing. Oh my gosh. Just everything. Everything.
So
Everything.
all in all, my relationship with Jesus, amazing. And always improving.
I don't think selfish is the right word. It's the word that I've used for a long time as well. As thoughts go off as we listen to, try not to, but it's you got real. What came to me is you got real, and you got real with yourself, and you got real with Jesus, and you got real with that relationship and what that meant, and then what that looks like moving forward. Because when you're living the life of the illusion, when you're living the fake world, you are in this world, but then when you get real, you're no longer in
Of
this
it.
world, you're of this world, right? Did I get the preposition?
Other way around.
Oh,
We live as Christians, we live in the world, but we don't live of it.
okay, that's what it is. When you
Yeah.
got real, you got of it, and you got out of it instead of being in it, right? I think that I got that. Um, but yeah, so you got real. You became real. You're no longer the living dead. You're not a zombie. You've got the spirit. So it made like all the difference.
I think to summarize my relationship is when I prioritized my relationship with him, all the other relationships thrived.
Mm,
So I can only like attribute any of the healthy relationships I have now to because like he's the one relationship I care about like the most, you know?
yeah.
So because of that, all my other ones flourished in the way they needed to, and the ones that needed to die, they died, you know?
Right. 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 Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Why'd you have to call me out, Ella? Um, so hey man, I have a stuffy nose. It's my sinuses. It could
Oh,
be. Yeah,
okay.
that's what it is. That's what I'll edit it out. Not really. So we got relationships, we got self, how that's improving. So what about you weren't, I don't think, working, but you had school.
hmm
Had to have noticed this in school, right? You had a big project at the time as well. What did you notice of how this affected you in and with school?
I think it helped me to again like realize what my priorities were.
Yeah,
So I was able to like school was a priority, but it wasn't like for so long it had been my number one priority to get all A's and da 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 da. And so now that I was like, but because I was prioritizing that, everything else was like suffering.
yeah,
And so now that I was like prioritizing um healing and like and health, it made it like I was a lot more energized, you know, I was a lot more attentive and present. And so I was able to do more, you know, and not just like do more schoolwork, but I was able to um be more productive with my schoolwork, and then it allowed me to have social time, you know, which I couldn't have before because I was so focused on school. And so it really allowed me to realize that it's not that important, you know, like it's not more important than everything else. And so I still like graduated with all A's, you know, so I was happy about that, and I graduated with the really high GPA, which I'm very thankful for, but it was not the what's the word? It was not like the drag on my life that it used to be, you know. It didn't
right.
hold me back. Um and I enjoyed it more, I enjoyed going to class and learning, and I enjoyed like getting my stuff done. Not just to get it done, but because I enjoyed the material. And
Yes.
then I felt good because I felt accomplished because I got stuff done, and then I was like, okay, like now I have free time. Now I can get to bed early. Now I can do, whatever I want to do. Um, and so I think it was really helpful to um like just order my day and how it worked for me. Um, so yeah.
Awesome. 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 Yeah. Now remember, a lot of the biggest things were with you with relationships, and then your relationship with God as well. So that's huge, huge, huge.
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying to think what other areas of life. Is there anything more to touch on with relationships, Evan, with mom, with sister, with the big trip that you had, anything like that? Family wise, or learnings or insights, anything like that?
Uh, I unfortunately didn't appreciate my family as much as I needed to until that huge trip over the summer. Because
Mm,
were never apart from one another for a month straight. And
yeah,
everyone that I told, like, they went into it and they were like, "Oh, like you guys are gonna hate each other at the end of it." Not at all. We loved each other so much more at the end of it. And I think we only got aggravated with one another maybe once or twice, like for like 10 minutes, and it was just beautiful.
yeah,
And I wouldn't like my relationship with Evan definitely suffered over that time. And that sucks, but I'm so thankful for the time that I had with my family because they mean so much to me, and like I'm so excited to come home now because like my mom says, she's like, I'm so sad when Evan's gonna be in Tulsa because you're not gonna come visit as much. And I was like, that's not true. Like I miss y'all so much. And like being in Tulsa, like and like calling my family or whatever, like and just like seeing them like, do all the stupid things that they always do. And I'm like, I wish I was there for that because I just love my family so much. And like it's just so beautiful to see them and to like and I'm so thankful that I'm past that like stupid phase of my teenage years where I'm like, ugh, like my mom, whatever, I'm like, I don't want to be with you guys, like I don't know why I was ever in that phase. I feel like everyone goes through that phase where they just never want to be with their family. But I'm like, why right before I leave for college do I want to be with them all the time? You know? Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I love my family so much and it like I'd say the biggest thing through the whole NLP thing was, like, realizing the importance of priority
Yes,
and the importance of that it's okay that priorities can shift sometimes,
yes.
because a lot of priorities shifted for me to, like, lower levels so that I could move my family to the top for that month, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world, you know? I would
Mm,
not have changed it for the world.
mm, mm, mm. Okay, so good. So, personal development, how did that pan out? That was one of the sections that we go into for this as well. So, personal development, what insights or learnings come to mind from or with that?
I think I was more in tune to my body and my mind, for sure.
Yes.
Uh, so, like, I was able to, when something was hurting, I was able to like, sit there and like listen to my body and be like, okay, is this like, it's just this like soreness or is this like an actual hurt? That I shouldn't either like I shouldn't dance full out or I shouldn't like lift weights today. And so I was really able to understand like what certain aches and pains were. I was able to like pinpoint the beginnings of bad like thought patterns or like of old thought patterns. And
Hmm.
so if I'd notice myself fixating on a certain part of myself or I'd notice myself fixating or like stressing out about something, I'd be like, okay, no, 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 like this is unhealthy and I'd be able to like speak that off. Um and I think I just became really, really in tune to myself and what like I needed. Um, and so like in the mornings, like if I needed more time, like I needed to spend more time with Jesus in the morning, then I didn't feel bad like going to the gym later and getting a shorter workout, because I was like, no, I know I need this right now. Or if I like I didn't didn't like want to be as like I didn't need to like be as excuse me, like I wasn't as diligent like with my schoolwork or whatever, but like so I didn't give it like my 110%, but I gave it 90%, like I was, but that's what I needed because like school was becoming an idol that week, that was just really really healthy healthy to healthy for me to like understand more of myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just became a lot more aware of, I mean, because you have thoughts in your head all the time, and most of them I don't even remember. I mean, we talk to ourselves a lot, and so I was again like aware of like how I talk to myself, because it says in the like Jesus tells us to love one another as you love yourself. And if you really think about how you love yourself, and if you loved others that way, you wouldn't love them very well, And and so I was able to like begin to notice that, and I'm still working through that with him, But I was able to start to notice that and be like, I am not treating myself the nicest right now. Like these are not words that I would say to my friends, This is not a way I would describe my friends, And so I was really able to like um I heard this in a sermon one time that like, the enemy sends like bad thoughts all the time and stuff, and it's a bird, you can either let it just fly over your head, so like you notice it for a moment but then it's gone, or you can let it nest on your head. And so I was able to like pinpoint like when I started to let something nest, and I'd be like, no, this can't nest, like this isn't healthy,
Yeah.
so yeah, I just became really really aware of everything about me.
I love that. I love that. And that allows you to then make the difference, take action, not take action, whatever
Yeah.
it is, pay attention, not pay attention, all that kind of stuff. The last section, spirituality. I think we got a pretty good idea.
This not a surprise question, or
No, this is well, this is the last section of what we had.
and
Uh,
then the surprise question?
it's coming. It's coming.
Okay, I'm
Um,
excited.
yeah, it's coming. We got maybe 10, 15 more minutes. Um, okay, so spirituality, because this we hit on all throughout.
Mhm.
How did that change for you during this time? How did that change throughout your whole life, right? Because there's a little bit of a difference, and you hit on it all throughout this conversation. You have become more aligned with yourself. You've begun to love yourself more. You've become aware of your thoughts. You've navigated the thoughts. That's changed your external world, relationships, how you related to so much, your priorities. I mean, he's done so much for you. So in spirituality, what else would you like the audience to know with your changes or insights that you have?
Yeah, so I think, like, I'll be honest, like, I think NLP is like it's a I think it's catered to, like, non-believers, like, just with the terminology and things like that, and that's okay, I'm not, like, knocking on that, but I think
Very
because
clinical.
yeah, I think because, like, I have the Holy Spirit within me, like, he was able to tell me, like, this is a good, like a good habit, or like a good like the different things we learn and stuff, he'd be like, yes, this is good, and then he'd show me how to implement him within that, to make it go further, and so like I think it was really helpful for me through this to not just rely on my own strength to like do all these like helpful things that you taught me, but that I knew it would be so much better and more beneficial because he was helping me with it. And so it was really helpful to because I'll be honest, I don't think I would have like learned all the things and like fulfilled all the things that I wanted to without him. I definitely wouldn't been would not have been able to, because all those years before, like when I wanted to do all these things, I was doing it in my own strength and I clearly failed every single time, you know? And so now that I have Jesus, like, and I wanted to begin a journey of like healing, like it wasn't me healing myself through these processes, but it was him healing it. And so he would be like, yes, this is a great thing. Like, let's do this, you know? And so, like, and it wasn't just like okay, let me talk about NLP in the meeting with Eric. You know, it was in my prayer time in the morning. I'm like, okay, like, let's talk about this. Like, how can I implement this in my day? You know, so it was really beautiful to see my relationship with him blossom through that.
Right.
And to even like now, like, I mean, we're always growing with him, you know, like we're always growing with him. And so I can't say that I'm better than where I was, but I'm not where I want to be, you know? And so that's where I was then. Like I'm so thankful that I'm for that season where I was like with him through NLP, but I'm so thankful for where I am now and I'm so thankful for where I'm going to be in a month, you know? And so especially like with me being aware, like because of these things I've learned in NLP, like over the summer when I gained like and me and all my friends at the same time gained this like huge revelation of just the simplicity of Jesus. Like I could be so aware of it and I was like, "Oh, this is good." Like so I was just and I wouldn't have been able to do any of these things without him.
Mm-hmm.
And and so I just had such a deeper appreciation for the program because for me, he was at the center of it
Mm-hmm.
and like he was like you know when I talked about like I was able to notice the bad habits from my younger years when in my subconscious mind like it wasn't me stripping those things away, you know, it was him being like, hey, this is not of me, this is not of you. And you know, like we're called to be Christ like, you know, we're called to die to our flesh and to pursue for the rest of our lives to look like him. And so he was able to say, hey, this is not a healthy thing. Let's take that away and let me replace it with how I see you and with how I want you to treat your body and how I want you to honor yourself and others.
Yeah.
And so it was just like it was so cool to see like because all the things that we talked about were good concepts, you know? They were really good and like but I know that, like, they wouldn't have sustained me and they wouldn't have fulfilled me in the way that they did if it wasn't for him woven throughout it for me, you know? And so I'm forever thankful for, like, everything I learned through this program with him, you know? And I'm so thankful that you understand that and that we got to talk about that
Mm-hmm.
and bring up scripture that supported concepts that we learned about in NLP. Like it was amazing, you know, because it's crazy how much the world like yearns for him, but they don't even know it. So it's like, I mean, you look at um like self-help books and life coaching and counseling and stuff and like not Christian counseling, not Christian self-help, like all like worldly stuff. And it's like these are all biblical concepts, but just not giving him the credit. And so I was so thankful that I got to give him the credit for these healing things, you know?
Yes.
And so my right now I'm like more in love with Jesus than I've ever been. And I am pursuing to be way more in love with him, you know, like I'm not where I want to be in love with him right now, but I'm way more in love with him than I was. And he's my everything. And I'm so thankful. So my spiritual life is great and it's getting better every day.
Oh my gosh, I'm tearing up again because of your words. That's amazing. That's so amazing. That's so amazing. And I'm so glad that we got to share that with each other because that's one of the layers deeper, right? So for the person listening, the NLP, like she said, is or I described it, but she mentioned was it's very clinical, right? The words are very different. It was created by two researchers back in the 1970s who studied psychologists, right? And what made successful people successful. So what I like to do is, if my client will allow me, the person that I'm working with, is start to insert the biblical principles in there and start to insert Christ. And obviously, as you hear with Ella, like earlier in the conversation, she mentioned we get off subject talking about scripture and the Bible and Christ, and have to navigate right back so that we get in what we have to get in, right? So is there anything else worth mentioning as far as insights, learnings during this time period? The thing that you mentioned with your schools. So after timeline therapy, we get into SMART goals, and there's a number of different principles and concepts that I introduce throughout this coaching, right? It's about
Yeah.
13, 14 calls. So please dive into that.
Yeah. So I'm at ORU University, which is a Christian university, and their like mission statement is let me remember it. I just had a test on this. It's developing Holy Spirit empowered leaders
Mm,
through whole person education to impact the world.
mm,
And so one of the things that they want to do is they're not just about like the spirit and mind, but they're really it's really important to them that we, like I said, like steward the body that God's given us. And so we right now I'm in whole person education, which is a class that I have to take every year that I'm there through graduate school. And so I learn about healthy lifestyles and fitness and you know all the things, and one of the things we talked about in my class was SMART goals, and also a lot of concepts that like we've talked about in NLP. And it was like really cool to see, like I just said, like I was able to integrate like Jesus into my journey, but it was so cool that like they are doing that, like it, so it just like further solidified the fact that these are good concepts, but like they're not good concepts without Christ in the center of it. And so it was so cool. Like I literally texted Eric in class and I was like, there's no way, like we just learned about SMART goals in my college class. And like so it was really cool that it wasn't just like a, you know, like a program. It was like it's healthy life, you know, strategies and stuff. And so it was really cool to see like how like we had to like make SMART goals in class of like what we like wanted of our year, or like what we wanted of our life and stuff. And so it was just really cool to see like NLP didn't just end like however many months ago when it ended, but like it's still in my life, which it was really cool to see.
that's awesome. That's
Really cool.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And you had just made SMART goals before, and you accomplished, I want to say the number, it was a pretty high number, like close to 100% from what you wanted to start off in the beginning, and what you wanted to go into the end. Okay. So probably second to last question. You know, I'm bad with numbers. Anything else worth mentioning? Insights, learnings, principles, concepts, things that you want to get out to the audience member, anything like that?
Uh, Jesus is king and I love him forever. That's it.
Very nice. I love it. And then the last little bit will be, this is the question. This is the final question.
Yay.
And you might have just given the answer too. There is a billboard.
Okay.
There's a billboard. And everyone in the world is going to see the billboard. 7 billion people are going to see this billboard.
Yep.
You can put as many characters as you want, like Twitter. It doesn't have to just be 140. What are you putting on that billboard?
Jesus is king and he's coming.
And he's coming. Anything else? Jesus is king and he's coming.
That's it.
I love it. And it's true. It's very true.
I can't wait.
All right. So with this, me either. I hope that you have a wonderful day. You are unstoppable, and I thank you so much for this. Oh my gosh, I'm an emotional guy. The emotions and just seeing him through you, the light, the radiance. And I even thought, it's kind of silly, but I even thought like the windows behind you, it kind of looks like a cross at different points. I was like, oh, this is wild. But, yeah, just like that, I was like, man, that's kind of nuts. Hey, pup. So with that, have a wonderful day. You're unstoppable. And of course, I'll talk to you soon. Peace.